I'm Julio Capo, and let's queer up the USA view. HRC ends ties with weapons makers after LGBTQ plus activist pressure. The Human Rights Campaign has cut financial ties with defense contractors Northrop Grumman and RTX, formerly Raytheon, following a 2-year campaign led by queer and trans activists. According to a joint statement from the Gender Liberation Movement and Adala Justice Project, groups like ACT UP New York, Writers Against the War on Gaza, and former HRC employees organized the effort. It said, quote, "These are tools of state-sanctioned destruction and death, not a human rights or equality," end quote. Rand J., a queer Palestinian organizer with Adala, called the decision a huge win, saying, quote, "We won't allow our history, identities, and struggles as queer people to be commodified to buttress institutions upholding the genocidal war machine," end quote. HRC confirmed to them, the publication them, that it no longer has sponsorships with either company. Activists continue to call on HRC and other LGBTQ plus organizations to divest from weapons manufacturers permanently and to publicly call for an immediate arms embargo on Israel. I find there's so much there's a lot of beauty in this story, which is such an odd thing to say about things that are talking about weapons and war, and the support of them, because it's to me, it's solidarity. What the story is largely about is a story about solidarity and the remembering the kind of queer and radical origins of our movement, which is largely to imagine, right, that violence against anyone is violence against all of us, right? To think about the very notion of like Black feminist and lesbian thought, that none of us are free until all of us are free. And this is very much a story about that, right? Like that to imagine any form of violence that could happen to any one of us as being okay because it's happening over there is not okay, right? That is that we have to understand solidarity movements. And I think this is really what this is calling for. And one of the HRC has a really checkered history, and that is
it's a nice way to put it.
That's right, thank you. Especially anti-trans, right? And being a very white organization that largely supported white women and men, pushing HRC further to inclusivity and progress, and is important to do. We have to hold them accountable just the same. And it sounds like this is a story suggesting some of that kind of more radical politics.
It also talked to me about activism. And how important it is in our community to have people that are willing to dig and to find out, because we've done it through the AIDS crisis. And we found who were our allies and our foes. And we need to keep doing this in a very impactful way. This is you going to the root of the problem. The people that are making guns and selling them to no matter who, no matter we call ourselves you might be selling it to the Taliban for all I'm concerned, and it's just like, is that better? Is that more valid? So I think this is important that we have this, that with our community we have them. I think the AIDS crisis gave us that. We learned that from ACT UP and people like them, that we need to get involved and we need to make our voice heard.
Well, and this is also about accountability, I think. I mean, after years of activists demanding that the Human Rights Campaign stop taking money from defense contractors, they're finally saying no more, because you can't advocate for peace and equality with one hand and cash checks from the war machine with the other.
Well said.
You just can't.
Well said.
Well,
you can.
I'm always torn when it comes to these things, because on one hand, as long as you're not promoting that organization, which I guess that's what the sponsorships are, is that in some way that you're promoting them, then I agree with that. If they're just writing you a check or whatever, I'd rather your dirty money come to me so I can do something good with it, as long as I'm not promoting you, because we are hurting
and we need the money.
Exactly. And if you go down, like so many of these corporations, like all go to like 5 parent companies, like with Disney and with MTV or Viacom or something. And if you track the money far enough down the line, you can always track it back to somebody
follow the
who's
money.
doing something. That's terrible, right? And then we'd be having to like give back money to everything, you know? So I do think it's a fine line between like what you're able to take, because maybe there are some people who are part of that company that maybe their primary thing is the war machine, but maybe they do have a component of their company that is like trying to give back to the community or trying to help. And in that way,
that money would work.
You can like take it without promoting it. And you can say, look, we can take your money and we can do certain things, but we can't promote what your cause is, and see if you can work out something like that. Maybe they'll agree to it. If I'm running for an office, if I'm running for senator and Chick-fil-A wants to sponsor me, give me the money. I'm not going to promote you. I might even open a food truck called Side Chick on Sundays across the street.
No.
But
You
Are you gonna be on camera eating a Chick-fil-A to promote?
no. Again, like I said, I'm
They'll
not.
take the money.
There's a
They'll
difference
take
between just
money.
taking money if somebody's donating
Yeah,
to
but you also
and
can't
if you're
just put like a
promoting.
rainbow sticker on like a war machine and be like, this is now like okay because.
But
like,
that's
they
what
gave
I'm
us
saying.
money.
I didn't say to do that.
No,
I
you
said the
didn't.
opposite of that.
Right.
Like, we can take money, but we cannot promote you. So if you're willing,
I think my soul
you know?
would die. You know, I mean, it's like, again, these are questions that like you just think in an alternate, not an alternate universe, right? If Trump right now said, Julio Capo Jr., I got a position for you, right? But now you've got to claim being a Republican, and this is what it is. Like, your inside dies, but you're making millions.
I think
right?
I just died now.
Well,
Like,
some
am I alive?
But look, a lot of these corporations are money laundering in some way, and so they have to donate to whatever organizations in order to clean their money.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, why don't we give them to the organizations that hate us, or we could take some of it too. So
We'll wash
I'm not
their money.
saying like, it's a delicate subject, and you
you're
got to
right.
think about it.
Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.